Music producers, it's Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com, and you're watching another episode of Critique My Beats. This is the show where I give your beats feedback, you submit your beats in, and I give you constructive feedback that is meant to build up your empire and not burn your building down. You will not hear words like your beat is trash, your snare sound like nipples, just constructive feedback that is going to help you for your music and your career. For those of you that are interested in being critiqued in a future episode, go to CurtiqueMyBeats.com, look at the information. Please only send MP3s via the email that is provided to you. However, today we are going to get to a few different producers, one of which is back for a third time. Green Monster Music says, yes, I'm back. How often do you get producers who take your critiques and then execute? Anyways, I took the Waiting For track you liked and revamped it. New and harder kick. Recreated a sample bass line and played it myself with an electric bass guitar. Def thumps more now. Also a second track for you called Dollar I Need, which I believe you'll also enjoy. Well, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you for submitting again. However, I would much rather you save your money, my friend, and just take your time with it. The critiques I give you are not for immediate, I'm going to change this and now everything is just perfect. These are things that you psychologically want to take on and start to understand why I'm critiquing these things first. It's not about fixing this and then all of a sudden all the beats you ever make is fixed. I would much rather you just take your time. There's no rush to get it back to me. I'm glad that I'm able to help. This is a service that I offer, but I definitely don't want to abuse that with you. So I would just say, let's make this the last time. Take your time, come back in a month. It's all good. We're not going nowhere. Either way, you left us with two beats, one of which we've already heard, but you gave some revamps on it. So let's listen to the new revamp on Waiting For. Right, good work, Green Monster Music. I can tell that you definitely took the critiques and you put them into action. First thing that I noticed was that sample does not feel as stretched. The kick does feel more present, which is good. The snare is definitely hitting. I would have probably preferred that you shift that snare more towards the center so that we're getting sort of that, just where you would expect to hear that snare, so it has more of a balance of the sounds that you're using. But this definitely has a bigger presence, and I think it's really attributed to now using that live bass, which makes a hell of a difference, adding that to it. Great work. I mean, there's not much to say after we've heard this beat before, and I've given the critiques before, but I think that the changes that you made on it, this definitely sounds good. It sounds good, brother. You're on the right track. There is no need to submit it again. You got this. Anyways, let's go to the second beat, Dollar I Need. Okay, really dope track. Another soul sample. The things that I liked about it initially, I like the sample that you chose. I like how it drove and it has an energy. You're not just sampling something that just sounded good and you're trying to now evoke an emotion off of somebody else's music. That's not what you did. What you did was you picked a very progressive, fast-moving, energetic part of that sample and you pushed it forward, which I think is very important. Some things that I'll say in terms of critiquing. The snare, I would have liked to see more presence with that snare. I don't mean go do it and bring it back again. That means take your time with it. Because I think that although you fixed the snare on the last one, you're still doing the same things or you're resorting to the same habits, which is why I say take your time with this. The snare, you have a habit, it seems, of panning it to the right side and it's losing its life when it comes to, both of our ears interpret sounds in a different way. And for most people, your right ear is a lot more sensitive to sound than your left ear. So as you're listening to it, you got to make sure that you're having sounds that appeal to these natural instincts we have as human beings when we're listening to things. And right now, just throwing that snare over there is doing a disservice to the way that it could be pleasing the left ear, in my opinion. Also, too, the kick is good. I like the thump on this kick. I would have liked to hear just a little bit more thump within the kick. The bass line, I think you just need to do some more EQing on the sub. Because right now you could tell there's a bass line there, but it just doesn't feel present. It feels like you probably recorded it live, put very minimal EQing on it. It doesn't feel like a live bass. Right now it feels like you found a VST and you tried to play it through. Outside of that, the hi-hats I think could have been a little bit tighter. You can have a little bit more control over the swing of the beat by tightening up those hi-hats. And the last thing that I would critique is the kick. The kicks sound very much quantized. And when I say that, I mean that they're too much on the grid. Right now, when you listen to those kicks, they just sound very computerized and it don't sound like a human laid hands to those kicks. It just sounds like you kind of use them as placemakers. Take some time to mess around with the spacing on the kicks. Like, take a kick and don't be afraid to have it fall off the grid or fall a little bit before the grid. Even if it doesn't sound quite on beat, make it a very subtle change to where it's like you barely notice it. Only you notice it. Do that and you'll have a more human sounding drum loop within this particular sample. But 2 dope beats. Thank you for submitting. I hope that you would take my advice and take some time just to sit with your craft. I don't want to give you too many critiques and then at the end of the day, you just end up making my favorite beat. You make your music that you want to make, my friend, but thank you for submitting. I do respect your tenacity. Next person, JR. Hey, Curtis and family. I hope all is well with you. I've been producing for a few years and I think I'm starting to find my sound. I hope to start leasing beats soon. Thanks for the opportunity. It really means a lot. I got you, sir. Thank you for investing within this. You left us with 2 beats, a few different websites. Let's listen to Chase and Aces first. Okay, JR Beats, you show a lot of attention to your sound design, which I'm not sure how long you've been producing, but I think it's dope. You said a few years. Good. You've been producing for a few years. I think that your attention to sound design could be your ultimate strength as a beat maker, just from listening to this first beat. You were not afraid to mess around with sounds that producers are traditionally shying away from, especially in today's era. I think that your use of sort of that warping bass synthesizer definitely gives you sort of like the vibes of some old school MIA, some Santi Gold. It's kind of what I'm getting from that bass line. Overall, the beat sounds really hollow. It doesn't sound like it has a nice balance. When I'm thinking of a beat to me that's like close to being the perfect beat, there's a great balance of low to mid and high frequencies. Why is that? Because it's satisfying all of our needs when we're listening to music. Every type of music, I don't care if you're listening to relaxation music, has some sort of low end that satisfies that for the brain. That's something I think is missing. Right now it sounds very hollow. The drums sound hollow. Right now it seems like melodically there's no driving force for this. Because you use a sound that kept going all the way through, I have to assume that the sound that you started off with was that synthesizer that went along with that bass line that you played, but it just wasn't present enough. It wasn't the main focus. It just seemed like you tried to make all these sounds play in perfect harmony when in all actuality there's got to be a leader in this, or it just sounds like a bunch of sounds being thrown together because it doesn't feel all cohesive. Which also brings me to that part where the beat opened up. I thought that was very interesting. I think that it has a lot of potential if you open it up the right way. The synthesizer plugs that you use in the right ear that I was listening to in the chorus, it falls out of key a few different times. So you want to go ahead and double check on that and make sure that you're staying within key. Also too, in terms of the drums, the snare just feels non-existent. It doesn't feel like the snare is even here. The kick sounds very hollow, and it goes right again to that first critique I had about being hollow. I think you're picking sounds that are not really weighted. They're kind of just sounding like placemakers for right now. So up your drums, find some higher quality drums, find some drums that just like hit you up in the chest, find some snares that make your neck want to snap a little bit, and you'll see a huge difference in this particular beat. But like I said, I think your strength within that beat was sound design. So that's great work. Let's go up to the next one, which is Underground. Okay, JR Beats, you gave us another experimental sound, and I gotta say that's the thing that I'm enjoying the most about listening to this Beats is that you're fearless when it comes to your sound selection. I just wish you had higher quality sounds. I think if you had higher quality sounds, your style would remind me a lot of someone who would produce for like a Kid Cudi. I could see Kid Cudi kind of going off and doing his own thing over something like this, but I think if you had higher quality sounds, it would give the listener a better idea of where you're trying to go with this. When I listen to this, I hear the same kind of critiques that I had for the last one, which is it sounds very hollow. The drums are just kind of spaced out. The snare, you got sort of like pan negative 50 all the way over there. We're not getting that snare enough. Right now, it just sounds like a bunch of sounds in the room, and it doesn't feel like the focus is being put towards centering where the listener is listening to your music. It just sounds like a bunch of sounds are being thrown all over the place. I see you said something about wanting to leash your beats, and I'm never one to crush nobody's dreams when it comes with that, but if you were asking my opinion as your friend, I would tell you to wait. I would tell you to give it a little bit more time, develop your sound, find some higher quality VSTs, try to stray away from the stock sounds as much as you can. I feel like if you took these sounds and you had access to Omnisphere, these beats would be completely different. And some higher quality drums, we'll be out of here. We'll be having a completely different critique. But I think for right now, I appreciate it because I see what you're doing with your sound and I see how fearless you are about your sound selection. But when it comes to leasing your beats, you may want to wait on that one, because I think that it's going to be a hard sell for customers, because most of them, I feel, are looking for records that are just ready to go and have a specific goal in mind. Is this going to get me signed? Is this going to get me fans? Is this going to be something that's going to be popular on my YouTube channel? Because right now when I'm listening to these beats, as experimental as they are, because of the quality of the sound, they kind of remind me of like some of those old school computer video games, and the sound that you heard in the background, like a Doom or whatnot, is what I kind of heard with it. But I think that you make up for a lot of the sounds with your sound design, and like I said, your arrangement and choice in your particular experimentation with your melodies. I think that's good. I think that you show a lot of potential. So your website is JR Makes Beats. Okay, well, thank you, JR, for submitting. Let's go to one more producer. Sauceman Dan Beats. Okay, Sauceman Dan Beats. Hey, Kurt, my name is Sauceman Dan. I've been producing since I was 13, but then stopped for 5 years when I was 19 and just picked it back up this year. Love what you do. The critiques is a cool thing you're doing. I don't have any social media, so feel free to share my email. Thanks. Chicken Lip Jones. You got so many different aliases, unless you calling me Chicken Lip Jones. I don't want that name. Anyways, you left us with 2 beats. The first one called Victor. Let's listen to it. Okay, Sauceman Dan Beats. The first beat you had is called Victor. Definitely had some, I guess, 40 Drake vibes, some Bryson Tiller type vibes. I definitely can hear somebody kind of getting their sing-song rap over it. For starters, them drums was smacking. Oh, them drums is smacking. They came banging through. However, the thing that kind of takes away from your focus on the drums is the fact that the melody, when it finally comes in with those 808s, the mix sounds very muddy. It sounds like a lot of these sounds are just being clumped together, and when those 808s come in, I don't know if you feel like people are going to listen to that and like just drop out of all consciousness because it bangs so hard. But right now, as it stands, you got to go back in there and start mixing around certain things. Right now, it seems like that 808, first of all, is out of key. There's just no way around it. The 808 is out of key, and it may even be the type of 808 that you're using, but between that 808 and between sort of that EDM-ish type synthesizer that you got going on there, it sounds like one of them sounds that you add like super late night making a beat, and you're like, oh, this would be crazy. And you wake up the next morning, you listen to it, and you're like, maybe it's not as crazy as I thought it was. And as I'm listening to it, it doesn't even feel necessary to the beat anymore. I feel like another thing that's happening is that your frequencies are colliding. What I mean by that is that the lower frequencies within some of your melodies is colliding with the lower frequencies of your 808. And I feel like if you were to close off the higher frequencies of the 808, not so much that it takes away the life from it, but if you close off some of the higher frequencies, you'll give literally the melody more space to breathe. But yeah, them drums were banging. But let's go to the next one, which is called Heat Sweet. Okay, Daniel Wahlberg, so you left us with another beat called Heat Suite, and as I'm listening to this once again, bro, your drums are banging. I think that is a strength of yours. I think another strength of yours is your sound design. I enjoyed the different transitions you took this through. Although the melodies were out of key in a few different spots, you're distracted by the sound design. And sometimes that's a quick little fix when you can't find the key on a particular beat, but I think in the long run, you want to make sure that all your sounds are cohesively in harmony, and it doesn't seem like they're really in harmony right now. It seems like the 808 and drums were from an entirely different beat, and then you just kind of threw this melody over the top of it. Now, I like where it gets super dramatic towards the chorus, but then I think you start adding unnecessary sounds within it. Like there's this kind of deep pad synthesizer that has a bit of a buzz on it that for the second part of it just doesn't feel necessary to be added to this particular beat. I think that you definitely were fearless when it came to the experimentation aspect and adding different like one shots and different string runs. You started adding different things within the beat, and I'm noticing like, oh, okay, he knows where certain things should go. I think right now your biggest issue was figuring out if these things are in the same key. And a lot of times when you're getting like one shots or even like mini loops, they show the key on the actual loops. I'm talking like in a splice language right now, but if you're going to use those, you want to make sure that they're actually within key. And I don't think that those are in key. I think that the melody with that 808 kind of gives me the feelings of an A$AP Ferg. I can hear a Travis Scott over something like this, but I think that they would definitely, if this got in the hands of their engineer or even their producers, a part of their team, they would take that melody and do something different melodically with it. Probably keep the actual instrument. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that instrument going with the 808s. I think that sounded good, but I think that just the pattern that you chose, it didn't counter the 808s and drums in a good way. It just felt like it was fighting with it, and then after that it seemed like other instruments that got added were fighting for the same sound space. But these are things that are going to come to you naturally the more you start putting the beats together. I'm excited for you, man. Glad that you were able to submit your beats off Sauceman Dan Beats. So for those that want to get a hold of him, his email is dwahllY36@gmail.com. if you need to hit my mans up. You're probably on YouTube too. Talk to the people within my comments and let them know how to get a hold of you if they want to hear these beats or hear more of your beats. Either way, thank you for submitting. Yo, once again, that was another episode of Critique My Beats. Producers, if you want to be on a future episode, you better get on right now because there's a list is starting to pile up right now. What you want to do is go to CURTIQUEMyBeats.com. Go ahead and reserve your spot to be in the future episode of Critique My Beats. Look at the different option. Please only send MP3s within your email so that we can go ahead and preview them. But thank you for all the producers who continue to watch this, or producers who at first probably didn't understand. Even the producers who were like, I wasn't feeling this at first, but now I'm learning so much. You're starting to see there's a lot of things to learn from watching other people's beats. Get on the gauntlet. So thank you for continuing to watch. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe now and be a part of the notification gang. Hey. Once again, this is Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com. Peace. Please subscribe to the channel below, Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com.